Founding father, John Adams, he was a consistent student in his own time of Holy Quran, Sharia, which is Islamic jurisprudence, Islamic law. He also was one to study Arhiq al-Maktoum, the life of Prophet Muhammad, called the Sealed Nectar. John Adams, as well as Jackson. These two individuals who compiled the Constitution as we know it were well informed by the Holy Quran. And some quotes of his around some themes that I will be speaking on. First of all, a constitution was made only for a moral and religious people, says John Adams. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. Because power corrupts, society's demands for moral authority and character increases as the importance of the position increases. Now compare that to DEI hiring. And I continue. John Adams says, I must study politics and war, that my sons may have liberty to study mathematics and philosophy. Understand, I must study politics and war, that my sons may have the liberty to study mathematics and philosophy. There is significant wisdom in that quote. Significant wisdom in that quote. How many times do I lament on and on again about our awareness of what's going on in our world and knowing what time it is? What do we have the grace to entertain or not? So that our children can have the grace to entertain certain things that we prefer them to. Is this a time where we have the grace not to pay attention to what's happening in our world? Not to be able to explain the timeline accurately, truthfully, of what really happened in history. As we know, there's an eraser, there's whiteout at every turning corner of this cancel culture generation, where tomorrow we know that the children will be taught nothing but lies, just like we were taught. John Adams says, facts are stubborn things. Facts are stubborn things. Listen, facts are stubborn things. And whatever may be our wishes, our inclinations, or the dictates of our passions, they cannot alter the state of facts and evidence. Let me say again, facts are stubborn things, says John Adams. And whatever may be our wishes, our inclinations, or dictates of our passions, they cannot alter the state of facts and evidence. Feminism and liberalism did exactly that. It attempted to use cancel culture to alter, to stop, to prevent facts and evidence. Understand? John Adams, liberty cannot be preserved without general knowledge among the people. A government of laws and not of men. That's the difference between republic and democracy. A republic is a government of laws, not of men. Because when you have a government of men, you have perversion, you have corruption, you have the inconsistency of the heart, you have the darkness of the heart that you must be prepared for. Understand? All the perplexities, confusion, and distress in America arise not from defects in the Constitution or Confederation, not from want of honor or virtue, so much as from the downright ignorance of the nature of coin, credit, and circulation. The happiness of society is the end of government. Ah, contemplate that. The Hebrews have done more to civilize men than any other nation. If I were an atheist and believed blind eternal fate, I should still believe that the fate had ordained the Jews to be the most essential instrument for civilizing the nations. And we all know this is black people. Understand.
Breaking news just moments ago, Facebook announced it is getting rid of fact checkers and also making major changes to what content is allowed. This is just the latest move as Facebook's parent company Meta and founder Mark Zuckerberg work to very publicly win favor with Donald Trump.
The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US.
Wow. Getting rid of fact checkers. And Claire Duffy, you can see her right here, is here with us now. So what's going on here?
Yeah, John, this is a major reversal. Let's not forget that the reason that Facebook and Meta introduced this third-party fact-checking system in the first place was because it was accused of allowing foreign actors to spread disinformation and discord around American political elections. Now the company is saying it is getting rid of those third-party fact-checkers and will introduce this system called Community Notes, which is something that Elon Musk has also rolled out on X. It lets users add user-generated context labels to posts, but you're relying on users to do that and to bring in the information. This was announced on Fox and Friends by Joel Kaplan, who is one of the company's top Republicans just last week. We talked about he was elevated to the company's top policy job. Here's how he described the system.
And so somebody can write a note, and then the way it works is different people on the platform can sort of vote on that note. And if you get people who usually disagree, who all say, yeah, that sounds right, then that note gets put on the post and people see it. X has been doing it for a while. We think it's working really well, and we're going to adopt that system. So
Meta also is announcing a number of other changes to its moderation practices. It's going to scale back some of the automatic filters that catch bad content. It says it will keep that for things like terrorism, child sexual exploitation, but for lower severity violations, it's going to ask users to report those before it evaluates them. Company is also moving one of its key safety teams from California to Texas. Again, an effort to sort of appeal to perhaps users in that part of the country. And Zuckerberg said that this is going to allow more bad things to make it onto the platform. He acknowledged that, but he said it will help with free expression.
A couple points I want to make here. Number one, Joel Kaplan announced that on Fox News. Again, everything very public, unsubtle, I think, what Meta is doing here. And I think they would perhaps admit to that. I don't think they would run away from that. And the New York Times reporting that the Trump administration got a heads up about this policy shift beforehand. So again, seems to be part of this larger, very public effort to curry favor.
Yeah, and Kaplan did. He acknowledged that it was in part because of this change in administration that they are making these changes. He said that over the last 4 years, the company feels like it's experienced pressure to crack down on more content, and that the Trump administration offers them an opportunity to pull back a bit there. So he is acknowledging it. I will note, too, the company announced yesterday that it's adding 3 new board members, including UFC CEO Dana White, who we know is a Trump supporter. He was stumping for Trump on the campaign trail. So it does feel like this broader shift at the company.
Yeah, completely unsubtle. All right, Claire Duffy, thank you very much.
Meta has announced this morning that it's making major changes to its content moderation on Facebook and Instagram. Mark Zuckerberg is saying they're getting rid of fact checkers, replacing them with user-generated community notes, which is similar to what we know Elon Musk has done with X. The way Mark Zuckerberg puts it in his announcement was that he says the fact checkers were too politically biased, and he's now attempting to restore free expression. The New York Times is reporting, Congressman, the Trump administration got a heads up about this move. What do you think of this?
Look, it's the lack of profiles and courage. Would Zuckerberg do this if Trump had lost the election? Is this just an attempt, blatantly trying to appease the president going in so he's not attacked? Let's just remember in 2017, the entire intelligence community said that the Russians attacked through social media our democratic process, and they did it to help the Trump campaign. So social media is an extraordinary weapon against our democracy. There is a balance to protect our First Amendment rights. But when you take away the guardrails and you see the far right connections here, it's a great concern.
So what can you do about, I'll say, the Elon Muskitization of the federal government, if that's the direction it's going? Not elected, not going into the government. What direction is this heading?
Look, what we can do as Democrats is draw attention to what he's done and the fact that obviously he wasn't elected and how this impacts him. When we took out in that first bill, the disaster relief, all we could do was communicate with the American people how much it would cost each state in disaster relief. That had to get put back in the next bill, and it did. But that's all we can do is communicate directly with the American people and our colleagues and hope that they understand Mr. Musk, while wealthy, is not particularly intelligent about a lot of items. If you're so rich, why aren't you smart? And he's not connected to the American people, and he has a disconnect that isn't really concerned with their needs. So I think that's the limits of what we can do where we vote in Congress.
What's up, guys? We're gonna hop into the store. I've been hunting for this card everywhere. Hopefully I can find it. If not, my homies told me about this thing called what?
Congressman Mike Quigley, thank you for coming in.
I'm going to ask you a meta question, no pun intended here. Maybe pun intended. How do you feel about facts?
How do I'm pro facts. I mean,
right.
Yeah, look, I'm an engineer. I'm a numbers guy. I'm a spreadsheet guy. I'm a firm believer that you look at the data, you make decisions, you be super transparent, especially for those who hold public office. Explain to folks why you're making the decisions you are based on data, and you move forward.
So some things are objectively true, other things are objectively not true.
Last time I checked, yes.
Okay, so the reason I'm asking is because Meta, the parent company to Facebook, announced this morning that it's getting rid of its fact checkers.
Great. Good. Nobody believes them. No, in their own words, there was severe political bias there. If there was a conservative group that had fact checkers, I'd say there's political bias. If there's a liberal group, if there's social media groups, if there's always going to be a bias in what you do. I think in the social media world, the political bias got very, very heavy. They acknowledge it. They're going to make a change.
Can you get better fact checkers then, rather than getting rid of them altogether?
How about not worry about fact checking?
Well, you just told me that there are things that are objectively true and objectively not true.
They are, but is that the role? Is social media's role to prove to you what is true and what is not? Or is its role to be an open platform for discussion, debate, opinion, whether folks believe something or not believe something? I would say that's really where social communication, that's more of the role of social media, not to be the police of what's true.
Without using words like police, and I'm glad we're having this discussion because it's an important one here.
Yeah.
Whose responsibility is it then to talk about what's true and not true?
Yours, mine, my kids, our communities. We all have that personal responsibility. It's not the government's. There's a freedom of speech aspect to this, of course, but it's not the government's role to necessarily tell you absolutely what is true and what is not true, what you should believe, judge you on what you believe and how you're voting.
Yeah. We're not talking about the government. We're talking about Facebook.
Right. It's a private business.
So,
right. Is it in their business model that we are going to be the police of truth in America, and when people say something that isn't true, we're going to immediately correct it or ban them? No, of course not. I'm going to guess. I haven't seen the business plan for Facebook, but I'm guessing that Meta doesn't have it in there.
How do you know when you go on Facebook whether what you're reading is true?
You don't. You don't. And that's why you shouldn't use Facebook or just Truth or just social media or just CNN or just ABC. You use your experiences to understand that what you're getting. And I'll say this.
Ogun descended from the hill, dressed in fire and blood. Ogun Erere. Ogun descended from the hill, dressed in fire and blood. Understand. And behold, It turns out to be literal. It turns out to be literal. January 10th. We're not even halfway through the first month of the year. And already Ogun is descending. The Mars principle is descending. The God of war is descending. The God of iron is descending. The justice of the Most High, the defender of truth and justice, on behalf of the Most High, Ogun, the one who does not play. He's making his mark as he descends in the timeline that belongs to him. Orisha Ogun, descending with fire, descending with blood. How many bloody events did we have already? And it's only January 10th in 2025. Massacres, public violence, terrorism, fires, uncontrollable, uncontainable. And each event exposes more truth. Each event exposes and uncovers greater depth. The fire of Ogun is infamy. Ogun begat fire. And what this explains to us is that infamy comes with being a principle of truth. It comes with being on the side of truth. It comes with being on the side of justice. If you are on the side of truth, if you are on the side of justice, infamy comes with that. You yourself beget fire in doing so. But the fire purges. The fire cleanses. It purifies. What did one of the officers say in Louisiana in her speech after the terrorist attack? What did she say in her speech? She mentioned fire. And she mentioned fire as a purifier, a purification. Verbatim, it came out of her mouth. And behold, I remind you again, Ogun descended in fire and blood. The principle of Ogun. It's not poetry. It's wisdom that crystallizes principles, morals, values, even chemistry and physics. You name it. But you yourself can be witness that it is the case. Just look around you and you are witness that Ogun has indeed descended. He has descended into his timeline, covered in fire, covered in blood. And the blood represents his victory over all of his enemies. And who are the enemies of Ogun? Those who side with falsehood. Those who side with oppression. Those who side with injustice. Those who side with manipulations. Those who sow seeds of confusion. These are the enemies of Ogun. Those who contaminate the blood. These are the enemies of Ogun. The culture is changing. Ogun changed the culture when he came to Gemini, and he became an ethereal separation that manifested as a civil war in every country. And now that Ogun is bringing his concentration to Cancer, it's about the culture. not the differences in thoughts and opinions. It's about the culture, a change in the culture. The change in the culture is coming back to authenticity, which begins with the fourth house, the place where we were nurtured, the place where our first realities were formed, the place where we must insist on morals, values, righteousness, honor, integrity, virtue, all of these things. And it's the restoration of that by the sword of Ogun. Feminism and liberalism took us all the way out of touch with ourselves and our moral compass. It was feminism. It was liberalism. And every other thing that you can name is a symptom of feminism and liberalism. Those were our two problems for the past 11 and a half years. Feminism and liberalism. Females unchecked in society, wreaking havoc, destroying and tearing down the moral fabric of our world. And the head of females, African American females, initiating and fanning the fire of such a toxic culture. Promiscuity, hypersexualization, everything is a joke. No need for the morals and values that our ancestors laid like bricks, one by one, for us to have a fortress in our culture against the evils of this world. They tore it down with their hands as they laugh and as they twerk. Females, everywhere they go, they start confusion. Everywhere they go, they start trouble. Everywhere they go, there's problems. Everywhere they go. Liberalism and feminism is finally over. They have lost their power. They've lost their control. They've lost their reign. Their time is up. It's over. Now truth has to be reinstated as the authority. This is where Pisces comes in dissolving what is false, dissolving what is not authentic, dissolving what was not real. And Pisces emphasizes the impulse of fear, so that fear no longer causes us to step into an inauthentic reality. Through fear, we have been stepping into inauthentic reality, even down to the subtle fear of not being accepted, the fear of being rejected, the fear of being betrayed, the fear of being abandoned. So we sell ourselves to fit in and to belong, laughing at what we know we should not laugh at. Devoting our time and our energy to those applications that have nothing to do with the space of our heart, our soul's journey, our reason for existing on earth. But because popular opinion says, because the celebrities say, because the celebrities do, because the pretty girl says, because the pretty girl does. I don't want them to laugh at me. I don't want them not to allow me in the space, the club. So I'm going to sell who I am for a sense of belonging. South Node Libra was a cure in purging of this impulse. Pisces is resolving the impulse of fear that has us living in ways that we ought not. The addictions that come along with guilt. The generational curses that have been in the blood. Saturn is still working through that. And Saturn is presenting to us all of our fears and making sure that that ring around Saturn has us to face it. What were we fearing so much to create cancel culture? What were feminists afraid of so much that they had to establish cancel culture? What were liberals afraid of so much that they had to establish cancel culture? They were afraid of the truth because they wanted to live in their delusional reality, and they did not want anybody to disturb them in their delusion. They felt entitled, DEIs, to everything and everyone that they had no qualifications for, that they had no right to. But through shame and insult, guilt, laughing emojis, joining together, Yes Girl crowd, pandering and co-signing, forming alliances, they were able to leverage a world of falsehood, a world of delusion, a world of Luciferic impulse, false light that overcame the people. And as single women who were envious and jealous of men raised up the next generation to think and behave on their philosophies. And now you have even young men thinking to the tune of females, quite delusional, out of touch with reality, weak, fashionable, but not constructive. Their appearance is mastered, but in their heart and their hands, their skills, their talents, their identity, it doesn't go beyond TikTok dances. It doesn't go beyond music and sports. It doesn't make it beyond beauty and fashion, consumerism. They have become the mothers. Look how many curses have been caused, developed, harnessed, enabled, repeat, because of feminism. Because of Lyndon B. Johnson's plan. Let no one wonder what will happen in a world that is run by women. All you have to do is look in the African American community. That is a world that is run by women. That is a world where no man has influence, where no man has say-so, where no man has authority, where no man has rights. Even if he wants to, he will get shot down. Because the system behind her had opportunity and had benefit, had reason to make it that way. And she fell for it, just like she did in the garden. Adam and Eve, just like she did in the garden when they fell from grace because of her. And here we are repeating it all over again. America fell from grace because of her. Materialism, liberalism, feminism, celebrity worship, worshiping pretty faces, worshiping sexy bodies, worshiping fashion, worshiping athletes, worshiping entertainers, patterning your whole life, the palette of all of your desires after what they do and say. We thought that was going to be free, but it's not. Now we have to pay for it. Now you got to pull your wallet out. That karmic debt has to be paid, and it's in the blood. It contaminated your children. You thought being promiscuous was cute. Imitating celebrities and bringing it into the reality of your life, it was cute. choosing and selecting mates in life according to the artfulness of it, not according to the function of it. Not having it in mind how this will affect raising children or a family, but instead, how will this answer my sexual appetite? How will it answer my status? How will it make me look online? This is the basis. The childishness in the Black community. We set the tone for the culture of America. African Americans do, and we do it effortlessly. We don't even have to try, and we do it. As an African American man, if I fart the wrong way, every child of every nation is going to want to fart the same way I fart, because that's the cosmic power that I have as an African American man. I own the hearts of every child on every continent because I'm a Black man. And it's only the African American, who has this power. And African American females have the same effect to all females and rainbow community of the world. Rainbow people pattern their expressions after African American females. Liberals of all kinds and walks of life pattern their ways after African American females. They imitate them, they talk like them, they walk like them, they think like them. They pattern their attitudes and expressions after them because they see they get their way. Mark Zuckerberg has now kissed the ring. He's denounced cancel culture. He know he's cornered. He know he can't go anywhere if he doesn't. But that's just it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Holy Quran, Surah Al-Anbiya, which is called the Prophets, 21:18. Allah says, in fact, we hurl the truth against falsehood. In fact, look at that word, fact. In fact, we hurl the truth against falsehood, leaving it crushed, and it quickly vanishes. And woe be to you for what you claim. And woe be to you for what you claim. We have to answer to what we claim. We have to give account to what we claim. You can't just be yapping. We have to answer and give account to what we claim. Look at Ketanji Jackson, a Black woman, Supreme Court. She had one job to do. Ketanji Jackson, what is a woman? Can you define a woman? This is a Black woman. Of all women, you should be able to say what a woman is. But for your selfish gain, she disgraced her ancestors and she disgraced the sisterhood. She disgraced every woman in every society, in every country, in every world. She disgraced all women because she refused to answer the question with the knowledge that we all know she had to answer the question with. What is a woman? She sold the truth for a lie. She sold the truth to further the rainbow agenda, to further the transformer agenda, to side with Satan, to side with Lucifer, to side with the Jewish behind all of it. She chose her master in that moment, and it ain't God. And this is the case with most African American females of today. They don't choose God. They choose Lucifer. It's who they prefer. They side with Lucifer every time. That's who they stand for. That's who they speak for. That's who they fight for. That's who they work for. That's who they serve. That is the chosen master, Lucifer. It's who they prefer. Falsehood cannot stand in the timeline of Ogun. Falsehood cannot last in the timeline of Ogun. Ogun directly opposes falsehood. He opposes lies. He opposes deceit. Venus had tolerance for it because Venus represents art. And in art, there is no truth. There is no falsehood. There is only perception. Understand? Mars is not that way. We have already downloaded the North Node Aries. So this is the timeline for the next 11 years. Understand? And Pisces North Node puts a demand on the purification of the blood. What will purify the blood? Fire. Fire. Look in California, Louisiana, Queens, New York. Just recently, a woman set on fire in the train station, in the subway. One catastrophe after another. Unspeakable. But what is it doing? It's sobering us. It's dissolving the high, the drug, the elixir, the intoxication of delusion. Have a good time. Consume, consume. Hypersexuality. Make art, make art, make art of life. Everything is art, art, art. We're getting sober. And when we've gone so far to where we don't want to hear the truth, we don't want to know the truth, we don't want to align, we don't want to adjust, disillusionment has to come when we pass up truth. And disillusionment is what stops us in our tracks from being a fugitive from truth. Understand? Disillusionment. Your house burns down, that's disillusionment. It sobers you. It humbles you. It brings your heart right back to the reality that you really are nothing while you walk the earth thinking you were something. And the only way to become something is through God, not through your arrogance, not through your selfish opinions of yourself. It's through God. Only through God do you become something. That's the truth. And until you decide to do so, God has the power to abase you into your nothingness so that you can remember, where is the route to my greatness? It is not through you. It is through God. And that is what humanity has seemed to forgotten, following behind females, following behind their ways. That's what humanity forgot. They got away from God. Women become godless when no men are around. They become godless. They don't believe in God. Men do. And the children take up on the same attitude and view. They become godless right along with them when there's no man or father around. She already set marriage on fire. How can that be redeemed? Men don't even trust women anymore. And you can't blame them. Women in this day have become predators, preying on the weak, preying on those who are looking for love, preying on any sucker who will come along to take care of them and all their mistakes, and then shit on them halfway through, taking everything they got, making weapon of the state, making weapon of the child. These things are over because love has to come in. Peace has to come in. But there's a bargain. Peace and freedom cannot exist in the same time. One has to go before the other. It's freedom first and then peace. The other alternative is not peace, but bliss, the ignorance, the bliss of ignorance. So when you do not have the courage to set yourself free, which is through the truth, you bask in the bliss of ignorance, which is not to be misunderstood for peace. Understand, peace comes after setting yourself free. But freedom only comes through war. It comes through risk. It comes through loss. It comes through fire, and it comes through blood. So if Ogun is here, it's because freedom is on the other side, and peace is on the other side of that. There's no peace where there are lies, falsehood, injustice, oppression, dirty hands, and dirty dealings in the dark. How many bloodlines and families are full of that contamination? Mars is in Cancer, therefore Ogun is addressing all the lies in the family, the corruption in the families, the deceit in the families, the misinformation in the families, the curses, the generational curses in the families, the unfairness in the families, the oppression in the families, especially through the mothers. Was that true about the father? Was that true about the husband? Or did you just have an audience, a crowd who would, yes, girl, no matter what you decided to do? Celebrating your divorce, celebrating all of your decisions, no matter how right or how wrong. Clapping. You put your faith in man. You put your faith in the audience. You put your faith in the people's opinion, not in God. So now, who's going to save you from God's justice? The same people who you ran to in opposition to God? Let's see how that works. Because right now, they're having a hard time putting that fire out. I'm going to tell you that much. They're having a hard time putting out a fire that God allows to burn. Regardless of how it started. They're having a hard time. The people are having a hard time gaining confidence of walking the streets in this country, in the liberal cities. And the liberal cities is where what? Feminism prevailed and found its strength. The liberal cities is where liberalism prevailed and found its strength. And you see the curse that has come down upon all liberal cities, the skyrocketing cost of living, the violence, the mayhem, the corruption, plagues of disease, STDs, violence, juvenile delinquency, single life culture, making perpetual the generational curses, compacting them one upon the other unresolved. And most of this is based on females who are not covered, females who don't have husbands, females who are unchecked, unguided, unmanaged. It sets the world on fire. And when you add beauty and sexual intensity up on top of that, now you have magic and witchcraft. Something impossible to overcome without the aid of the Most High. But the Most High has heard, and war is taking place in the heavens, and as above, so below. Jewish people have been exposed. African American females have been exposed. They both are one and the same in this day. They are one and the same. They both are great deceivers. They both accuse and blame others of what they themselves are. They sow confusion and division between others and then play innocent. They have alliances in high places. So whatever they do is neutralize. They make weapon of courts, weapon of children. They commit genocide. African American liberal females commit genocide through abortion. No one has more abortions than she. No one. No one has killed more black babies than she has. They are one and the same. And they both attack the image and reputation through false narratives of the African American male. They both do. Painting us as thugs and drug dealers and criminals and evil beings. Out to get everybody. Booga wooga wooga. We're the boogeyman. Romanticizing violent images of us. Bloodthirsty images of us. She does it in the family and community. And the Jewish people do it globally of our reputation, starting with NWA when they infiltrated hip hop. They put the money in hip hop to divide the people, separate them, and have them fighting. And the African American female divided the blood of the black family. When Lyndon B. Johnson gave them an offer. After feminism already seeded the intent. They are one and the same. They are no different. They both have been exposed. They both have been above the law. They both have immunity. They both have not seen consequence or examination or criticism that they had to answer to. But this only means one thing, and it means that God himself has to come and judge them. God himself has to, in person, deal with them. And that will be something very difficult to watch. Ogun's timeline is not something to take lightly. Pisces brings in faith, North Node, and faith is brought in through what? Fear. What you fear the most, you must pass through. You must move through. Because you have to face the illusions of it. You have to conquer those illusions. You have to master those impulses. You have to face your demons. You cannot have fear and bring in love. You cannot have fear and teach love, demonstrate love. Not with fear. We cannot bring in the kingdom of heaven in fear. Fear establishes government, but it does not establish unity. The unity principle of the prism. All frequencies of light come to a singularity of white light, the prism. That is Pisces. Understand? This can't happen if you're up on that level and I'm down on this level. You're way up there and I'm down here. Guess what? God is coming to even the field. There will be no superiors except in wisdom, except in character, except in virtue. We all are being brought down to the same level. Look in California, look in Hollywood, look in LA. We're all being brought down to the same level. Because we have to look from the same level to manifest Aquarius, the people. Where we let go of our importance of ourselves, the uniqueness of ourselves through ego, but instead through service. We will never learn this through females. We will never learn this through women. Never. It is a selfish creature. Divine masculine has to come and teach that. She can only manifest this for her children, not for anybody else. But it is man who manifests that for the world. Understand? As she does for her children, man does for the world. And her envy of the role, the destiny, the place, the post, the position of man, she can't take that with her. She has to reconcile with herself. She has to make peace with herself. She has to accept herself. She cannot go forward in the timeline envying men, being jealous of men, wanting to be men. Look at the silly lineup in the fire department in LA. A bunch of damn butchers looking ridiculous, like they're going to carry a grown man out of a burning building. Just because you cut your hair short and put on some baggy pants don't make you a man. God makes man and God makes woman. Through feminism and liberalism, females have been living their entire lives jealous of men, envious of males. Can't pay attention to your role, can't pay attention to what you came to earth for, can't pay attention to your destiny because you are putting a lifetime of effort into proving to yourself that you could be a man too. But little does she know, if she embraces her identity as a woman, she will find that she has an equal portion of gifts, blessings, and significance, just like man. And man cannot imitate it. He cannot replace it. She's jealous. And it's really because of her ignorance of herself, her fear of knowing herself and accepting herself. The beauty industry makes trillions of dollars. Well, billions of dollars. There's a reason for that. In fact, we hurl the truth against falsehood, leaving it crushed and quickly vanishes. And woe be to you for what you claim. Woe be to you for what you claim. There is no God? Oh, okay. You like your witchcraft and your magic, your tarot cards and your astrology, but you conveniently leave God out of it every time. Okay. Where's that going to get you? In a deeper confusion. Deeper confusion. How can you teach astrology without acknowledging the power of God, the wisdom of God? Where are you going with that? How are you talking about astrology, God's universe, the one who ordered, measured these perfect measures and systems? And you're going to turn a blind eye to it. This is what women do. It kills them to acknowledge the Most High. It kills them to acknowledge the Most High. This is why man is the glory of God and woman is the glory of man. It goes in that direction. Woe unto you, any man who worships women. Woe unto you. Cancel culture is over. The truth is now authorized again to pass and move, to mobilize. Truth will be spoken. And this is the descent of the principle of Ogun, truth. But remember that truth, it comes with fire because it purifies, it purges of delusion, illusion, falsehood, lies, deceit. It sets free. Truth sets free. Falsehood binds. It binds, and it binds you to curses. Falsehood binds, and it binds you to curses. Feminism is fallen. Liberalism is fallen. This is the main point of 2024-2025 shift. This is the main point. Feminism and liberalism. In the past, it became dust, it fell. Cancel culture now falls because of that, because cancel culture was begotten by liberalism and feminism in order to uphold the illusion of that Luciferic force. Understand. Now, Pisces North Node, specific to Saturn making its way out of Pisces, you're not going to look within if there's no crisis. You're not going to look within if there's not enough fear to push you within yourself, to find some power, some peace, some security, some clarity, some understanding. Something has to push you inside yourself, because inside the self, a force has to bring us in there. And that is the undoing of the 12th house. It's the force, the algorithm that brings you deep into the self through crisis, undoing, troubles, hitting rock bottom. And when you have a planet there, it's a generational curse that makes sure that you go within to explore, what does somebody put in my blood that I need to heal and purge right now so that I do not continue to go through this? Why do I keep hurting myself? Why do I keep putting myself through these things? Why do I keep suffering fear and guilt and shame and gluttony and greed and hate and all these different things? Where is it coming from? It's coming from the blood. That's where it's at. Somebody did it over and over again until it became permeated in the blood. And only discipline can change that. The consistency is what changes that. Obedience is what changes that. Self-control, self-restraint, that's what changes that. Having and finding authority within the self, in your forces, that's what changes it. Authority, inner authority is what changes it. Saturn is making sure that we do that. That's why there's a restriction to look at yourself. When you see these houses get burned down, you see these massive floods, you see all these crisis things that people are going through that's pushing them to the point of their sanity, of fear and turmoil, crisis. Somebody is trying to get us collectively to look inside of ourselves, to stop filling our life with distractions, addictions, entertainment. Turn up. Busy, but ain't even doing nothing. Heading nowhere fast. Go, go, go. People will go outside and wrestle with bears and lions and tigers, but don't have the courage to sit down in the silence and listen to what's being said inside yourself. People will rather go out and battle a dragon, fight a whole war, than come back and deal with what's inside of the self. Fugitives from the self. Saturn is helping you to work through that so that the North Node can pour in to an open capacity that has been worked through. It's a warehouse of boxes that got to be packed up, searched through, and loaded up on the truck and sent out. You got to clear the warehouse so that the North Node can bring in what you need of this new timeline of understanding. Faith, spiritual downloads, clairvoyance, codes of love. Understand. Gifts that benefit the world. The Christ impulse. But we got to clear the warehouse out. Nobody want to do it. Why? Oh, the truth offends me. I don't like how you said it. I don't like that you said that. Oh, you're a bad person. Oh, who hurt you? That was mean. Oh, I can't. I just can't. You know what happens when you turn into that person? Always burying your head in the sand, running away from the truth. The truth comes to you. And like I said, that's called disillusionment. When the truth has to come get you because you ran away from it.